strategically. I can get it right. I'm gonna go where the winners go. 'Cause ain't an option, no. It ain't in my blood.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Mondays Beyond the Mic. This is the place where we look at relationships to provide a better understanding for both men and women so we can learn and grow together. And I know some of you tonight are probably looking and saying, "Where's Lady Dawn B? Where's Lady Dawn B?" She will be with us shortly. So until then, you just have me. All right. We like to say thank you to our regular viewers and welcome to our new viewers. We ask that you like, share, and subscribe and give us a super chat, as that one gesture means much to Mondays Beyond the Mic and Bravo with Sheila Network. Yes, we like your likes, and it helps to move the show further in these YouTube. However, our goal is to change lives as a result of this show. And we hope that that is what we will continue to do on Mondays Beyond the Mic. So we have a disclaimer, and the disclaimer is we share from our personal experiences. We bring on guests that may be experts in, but this is for entertainment and education purposes. Also, we have some house rules. What are the rules? Respect, respect, respect. I would like to state that if disrespect is displayed in the chat or on the platform, individuals will be silenced and removed from the show. So normally, like I said, this would be the place where I would say, "Come on, Lady Dawn B," but she's on her way and we'll ask her how she's feeling, right? So we're going to see who's talking to us in the chat. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Hold on. I think the lady is in the house. We'll give her a few minutes, but we see Keep Me Posted. She said, "Hey, ladies from NYC. Woo woo." If any of you have been following the show, you know Lisa has been walking around the country and she made it back to New York City. So we are excited for her safe return back to New York and always being a part of the Mondays Beyond the Mic family. Hey, Lady Dawn B, how are you on this Monday?
It's Monday. We made it. It's one more day closer to Friday, so I'm glad about it. How y'all
All
doing?
right. All right. So I am doing well. It has been quite a weekend, but I am so grateful. To your point, it is one day closer, but it's been a good weekend, so I'm not going to complain. Or it has had its ups and downs, but more ups than downs. So how about that? Like that old song, I won't complain. So that's what we're not going to do. We're not going to complain. So we say welcome to the month of June. We hope you, as we decided, we took a little break to say we were going to celebrate the holiday as well. And we're back, as you know, the month of May. We talked, since May was mental health. We discussed different things leading into health. If you missed it and this is your first time, we say go and watch what we talked about: relationship wellness, spiritual wellness, and emotional wellness. So we are in the 6th month, 6 months down in the new year, Lady Dawn B. How would you assess, if you was giving it on a scale of 1 to 10, how's it going so far for 2025?
Hmm. Um, I'm actually gonna say it's about an 8. I'm gonna say it's about an 8.
I
You know,
love
it
it.
started
I
off,
love it.
it started off as a negative 9,000, but it is now like up to an 8. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. I like it.
Well, how about you? How's it going for you?
I would actually say I'll give it a 7. I think it's going to get better at this point, but I'll give it a 7.
Okay. Okay. We'll take
So
7.
yeah, we'll take a 7. We'll take a 7. And I see Janice is in the comment. Hey sis, Janice said, "Hello, ladies. Hope everyone is doing well. Yes, we are. And we're even better now that you're here. So, we're going to talk about some unfinished business tonight.
Hmm.
Hey, lady.
We are.
Oh, and we have the great doctor is in the house.
Hey,
Hello, Dr. Hardy.
yes, ma'am.
Wisdom. I am still practicing what she taught us last week. So thank you for being a part of the Monday Beyond the Mic family. We have some great people here. We really do.
I agree.
And Dr. Hardy, we will drop the link at any time that you want to come on because we're going to talk about unfinished business tonight. So we could have the doctor to come on and give us some her expertise in this area. So let's talk a little bit about unfinished business. What does that mean to you, Lady Dornby?
Let's see. Unfinished business. Some business needs to not be finished. I would say that. Some of it needs to just stay, just leave it where it lies. So let sleeping dogs lie. We need to do that. But there are some other things. The bigger things that are on my heart are the things that really need to be completed. I won't say closure, because closure is not based on other people. Closure is based on you. Is one thing I've learned. So I would say there are some things that we have got to see to the end to wrap up and complete. That's what the hell when I think of unfinished business.
Okay, okay. Um, so let's see what theory and practice of counseling had to say about unfinished business.
All right. Hold on a second, 'cause that's me. I got to get my life
Yeah,
together.
that's you. That's you. So while you're getting your life together, I'll say hello to some people in the chat. So hi, Kathy. How are you? She said, "Good evening, everyone." And Steph said, "Good evening, ladies. Thank you. We want to make sure that you are our show tonight. And for those of you that are watching and not communicating, we say, come on, just hit that little button for us. It means much to Mondays Beyond the Mic. And bravo with Sheila. All right.
Let's
You
see.
ready,
Oh,
lady?
I think I'm ready now. All right. So, unfinished business, accordingly, is feelings about the past are unexpressed. These feelings are associated with distinct memories and fantasies. Oh my, memories and fantasies. Okay. I wasn't really ready for that, but I'm thinking about changing my answer. Uh, feelings not fully experienced linger in the background, and interfere with effective contact. Results: preoccupation, compulsive behavior, weariness, oppressive energy, and self defeating behavior. Hmm, that's a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of stuff. What say you, Dr. E?
In looking at this, when it talks about feelings about the past that are unexpressed, I think of how many times do we go into relationships, whether that's um, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, friends, with this unfinished, unexpressed past. And how do we often attract what we didn't finish?
Hmm, that's good. That's good. Because you're trying.
Because you remind me of the thing that I didn't finish, or you remind me of that person. And so now I gravitate towards you because now I feel like I may be able to complete what I did not finish with the previous person.
Yeah, and I find that is very unfruitful still. I mean, I've been in that cycle, so I get it. You know, thinking about it like that. Because I'm trying to finish with you what I started with someone else, which is unfair because we never get to start our new start. So it makes so much sense. All the things that this is good. All the things we didn't say in previous relationships, Sometimes we're oversharing in new relationships because I'm sure we all said it and heard it. Because my last relationship, I was quiet. I never spoke up. I didn't do this. My last relationship, we're still stuck on what we didn't do instead of embracing where we are here. So yeah, I love that. I got to get myself together now. Opened up something.
And I think going back to that, what you just read, when it says having not fully experienced lingering in the background to interfere with effective contact. I think we, even in like siblings, unfinished business you want to say to your siblings, or unfinished business you may want to say to maybe even your parents, and you never get that opportunity, so you take it out on other people because maybe there was fear, and if you grew up in a household where you're like, if I want to live to see tomorrow, I will not say that, but it's still something that you're carrying
Right.
as a result of, and it's an unfinished business. So maybe you said it earlier, to your point, I wasn't heard before. So now I'm speaking up, but it has nothing to do with the current person. It has everything to do with that unhealed little girl, little boy.
I agree. I agree. And then you find yourself reacting to things that have not occurred in your new space. And sometimes we do that thinking that these are preventive measures, that we're taking. Like, I'm trying not to, do this again or not do that again, but you're taking preventive measures about something that may not even be present in the relationship space that you're in with, regardless as to who it is. So that's some unfinished business you got to resolve within yourself. I firmly believe.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I'm gonna say, Lady Dawn, let's see who's talking to us in the chat.
Um,
And can for those of you that are in the chat, can you name some areas where there's some unfinished business? If you dare, if you dare.
be brave. This
Share,
is safe
be
place.
brave, right? This is a brave space, safe space. So hey sis, Sharon Lockley said, "Good evening, ladies and guests." How she know we gonna have a guest? No.
She knows she's prophetic.
And I love that. I always say the Lockley sisters. And Gail said, "Good evening, ladies. Good evening, sis." Steph said, "Needing closure." All right. All right. And we say, "Hey and nay." Go ahead. Say it, Dawn, Lady Dawn B.
Hey, and they the greatest moderator to ever do it in these YouTube streets. Who's on our squad, our team? We got the best of the best over here.
And we thank you, Anae, for everything that you do. So let's get, what are some things that you say, I have unfinished business?
Uh, hmm. That's. I think that's hard for me to answer right now because I'm actually finishing all of my unfinished business that I have had. I had unfinished business with school, and I'm
Okay.
back to school.
Yay.
I Yes, ma'am. Yes, that's right. Doctorate is possible. It's coming, y'all. It's loading.
All right. And we're going to celebrate you.
I'll be ready for it. Um, with writing and publishing the books, that was unfinished business, and we've been doing great with that. I have my music that's unfinished business that I'm working on, trying to get this at least single out by the end of the year.
All right.
And
I'm your manager. Everyone, I wanted you, let's go on record. I am her manager.
this is for real, y'all. We're not playing. Dr. E is it. She's it. Okay, you contact me through her. That's the way. That's the way it works. That one over there. Yeah, but that's really for me the unfinished business that I've been dealing with. Because I think a lot of times we think of all the external things with other people, but when you don't deal with the unfinished business that's about you, is what puts you in position. I feel now, as I'm learning, transparent moment, that because I had unfinished business with me, it's what caused me to engage in certain relationships, looking to fulfill those things externally, And now I'm looking for other people and that's why the unfinished business never gets resolved because I didn't resolve it within myself. So when I resolve it within myself, I show up in different spaces. I show up in the spaces that I know that I should own and occupy because I have a right to be there, and I'm secure within myself, and I'm sure of me, as opposed to showing up in the spaces where I'm trying to band-aid something, you know.
Mm,
So
I
that's
love
been
that.
business.
I love that. I think it goes back to having, taking the light and shining the light on ourselves to be able to say, this is me, and this is the part of me that I need to work on. It made me think about, remember the game Operation?
Mm-hmm.
And you would go in and you had to remove without touching the sides. And when you would touch the side, the light would go off or whatever. And
Buzzer. I
I
did.
look at that I didn't hear you.
I was saying it was the buzzer that used to get me.
But it's like that when we're going in to do the work on ourselves, we hit the sides, you be like, oh no, I'm not going to touch that because I don't like that sound. But we had to go through and keep hitting the side until we could perfect pulling the thing out. So I really think that this unfinished business is an inside job because it's almost like people look for other people to make them happy, right? But when we start basing our lives on joy versus happy is for a moment, but joy can be eternal. So I think that this unfinished business piece is definitely something that we need to look at and look at how we're showing up in spaces and places. And are we showing up as the best version of ourselves?
I
So I
agree.
love it. All right. So we have some people. We want to get some folks in there. I saw Miss Catherine Lockley, as I call her, Mama Lockley. Hey, Mama Lockley. Love you. Thank you for tuning in. Um, hey, Teresa Jones. Hey, TT. That I'm gonna give him. That's a nickname, right? I just made it up. She said, "Good evening, everyone." And Steph said, "True," at Lady Dawn B.
Every now and then I say something that makes sense. Every now and then.
And Kathy said, having the right moment to apology, unfinished business, having the right moment to make an apology. Right. And I don't know about you, Kathy, but sometimes it's hard to apologize. You'd be like, I don't want to say I'm sorry, but we have to like swallow our pride and go, I'm sorry.
Me too. Me too. I agree.
So,
That was a good
all
one.
right. Let's get to the clip. Let's and then we're gonna bring up our guest after the clip and see what Miss Lisa, who walked around the world, has to say.
And if
Sounds
if
good
you
to
want to
me.
take a time out between relationships, do it. And you can get some healing trying to understand what happened to you, who that person is or was, who you were and are now since the relationship. But we always bring unfinished business from our past. So let's say you went through a betrayal. The person betrayed you in some way, financially, relationally, and that was why the relationship ended. And you deal with that and you understand that. And when you walk into the next relationship, you're going to have trust issues. It comes from the last relationship. You can't undo that on your own. The undoing is working with a partner with consent for them to work with you around the original wound. And you doing that for them too. So we burden our partners with unfinished business. It's normal. It's healthy. It's supposed to happen. But what's not happening for most people is them knowing how to work it through and getting past that and helping each other lift each other from the early betrayals from their past and their childhood.
Mm.
So
Well, I want to bring Lisa up, but what are you thinking about that? What do you think?
Do it. And you can get some healing trying to.
with what he said, that what stuck out, I think the most for me, um, well, I was I cringed a little bit when he said it's supposed to happen, and it's no. I'm like, what you talking about? Said that's not supposed to happen, but I'm gonna respect it. I'm gonna respect it because I'm just gonna. It's okay. Let me swallow that. But I think, not I think, for me, what stood out the most besides that is when you talked about the partnership and um, partnering with someone who can work with you around the wound. And that is something I think that is so hard to find. Um, we want to get into relationships, and it's not just male, female, but sisterhood, family. We get in these relationships that are easy for us, you know.
You
you
want to
know,
bring that up? Steph said, at Lady Dawn B, you're reformed. You're reformed. So, again, if you don't
yeah.
understand, go back and watch previous shows. So, reform Lady Dawn B, continue.
Thank you, Stephanie. I am reformed. Yes. So finding someone, whether it be in that sisterhood space, whether it is in that relation space, even in families, to work with you around your wounds is very difficult, because we don't always want to stick in there with someone else and have to sometimes give them more than they will ever be able to give back, you know.
Hmm.
But we need that. And we want someone to be that for us. But sometimes it's really hard for us to be that back, or to be that first. So
I like
that
that.
made me think about.
I we often hear that we all come with we all come with baggage. It's having the right person to help you unpack, and being able to say, I have trust issues, if that's what it is, and that person understanding that, I need to work with you this way, although it has nothing to do with them, but they're going to love you enough to work with you. It makes me think of, well, we've both been married. When you stand up and you say for better or for worse, when you are in the perfect realm or world, you're able to say to that person, here's my worst. Here is that thing that I've hidden from myself, possibly, right, for years. Oh, I allow it to lie dormant for many years. And now it's resurfacing, because when I get too close to someone, this is what happens, because I think you're going to disappoint me, or I think you're going to leave me, or I think you're going to, whatever you think. And we will act out. I think we have a tendency to act out instead of communicate, because it's a defense mechanism for us,
Hmm.
um, because I fear what I don't know.
That is true. I like
So
that.
I don't know if Lisa's backstage and we can bring Lisa up. I would love to hear. And what are your thoughts about this clip? Hi,
Hi,
Lisa.
ladies.
Hi,
How is everyone?
how are you? Welcome back.
Thank you. It's so good to have a hair dryer.
You probably were like Dorothy. There's no place like home,
Oh
right?
my gosh. I've snuck in at 3:30 in the morning and nobody saw me and I was like, "Oh God, I don't want to leave for another 48 hours." But I had no food, so I had to go out. But it's so good to be home for sure. And what a great topic.
Well, thank you, thank you. So, if you had the opportunity to watch the clip, what were your thoughts about what he said?
Wow, he said a lot. And I really like the fact that he did say that we have to go through it. I think the messiest things we go through give us the most growth. And you have to go through the messy to really appreciate the good things. And as far as unfinished business, we all have it. And I think a lot of it is self imposed because we're too scared to say what we really want because we
Hmm.
fear that we're going to hurt other people. And one of the biggest aha moments for me was, why do I keep hurting myself to please other people? We're not going out of my way and intentionally hurting somebody, but am I hurting myself by placating them? Or and so I remember somebody saying to me along this journey, if you say no to your, if you say yes to somebody else, are you saying no to yourself?
Mm.
And I was like, oof, I do that a lot. That's my unfinished business, is that I always put myself behind everybody else. And that sometimes, there's a reason for putting the face mask on, for the oxygen mask on in the plane, on yourself first. And I think unfinished business for a lot of us is not confronting what we need, because we're so used to either being rejected by other people that, well, we're just going to disappoint ourselves too. And we've got to get
Mm,
over that.
That's really
I
good.
like that. I like that. I mean, I want to be able to drop the link in the chat, so if anyone else wants to come up and have the conversation. And I know while we're having this great topic on or talking about this great topic on unfinished business, we're going to ask that for those of you that are in the bleachers, the bushes, wherever you are, if you can hit that like button and just do that for us, just please and thank you. It would be so appreciated.
We got
See, I said
bleachers.
it with a smile.
Yeah, we got bleachers and bushes now. I love it. Oh,
But I'm back in the city now.
And we are so excited. We love it.
I
So
love
we
that.
have some people talking in the chat.
hmm
Gail said so true about the untrust issues from your past into your new relationship, right? And then so if someone doesn't answer their phone, we automatically go back to, yeah, I remember when. And it could have absolutely nothing to do with what happened, but we put that pressure on the new person
Hmm.
and they're trying to figure out what's wrong with you. And we haven't dealt with that. Or we don't say, when you don't answer your phone, it makes me feel this way.
Yeah.
yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Steph
Communicate.
says, we are people pleasers. All right.
hmm And I can agree with that. And just to piggyback for a second, or to add on to, because when Lisa was talking about, how we deny ourselves for other people, um, it makes me think about, like she said, about the disappointment we don't want to face. And I had to realize one of my issues, or one of my sayings used to be, it's one thing if I disappoint myself, but it's another thing if I allow you to disappoint me. So it built up a wall of resistance. Like, I'm not going to let you. So I'll deny myself something ahead of time of it even happening, because I don't even want to give you the opportunity to even prove me wrong. You know,
Hmm.
so then you
Mm.
do, or you become self-sacrificing. That made me think of that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's good. Janice says, I can kind of understand what he was saying because of the fact that once something happens in a relationship prior, but you normally take it out on the next person, but be honest with your partner. And I think it goes back to that wonderful word, communication. If we're going to go and move into our next, and I think when we were in, let's say when we were younger, we didn't know. We didn't have the words. You know how we tell kids, use your words. We didn't have the words to express. But as Lady Dawn B, and what's her words? At this big old age, we should be able to be in a space and place that we're able to use our words and communicate, whether that's with your partner, with a friend, to say, when you did this, this is how it made me feel.
Yeah.
And give them the opportunity to explain or not, but at least I have now released this thing from myself instead of harboring these feelings, because a lot of times some things are just miscommunicated. You ever had someone send you a text and you read it in the way that they may not have meant it, but you read it with exclamation, and then don't let somebody accidentally keep the caps on. Who you
Right.
think you're yelling at? We're going to have a whole issue
Yeah.
when the person is like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So
That's true. It is true. It
if
made me,
we
go ahead.
no, go ahead, Lady Dawn.
I was gonna say it really made me think of when you mentioned about for better or for worse, and these are the things that when you talk about taking it out on the next person. And I'm gonna be honest, the first, because y'all know I'll be transparent, and in my head, the first thing I heard was when we say for better for worse, I was like, that is a lie. We lying. Everybody gets up there and repeats that part of vows, because when it gets to the worst, we are out quicker than we got in. It's always the for better. But when it comes to the for worse, and if we're being honest and transparent, let's be real with ourselves, like Janice was saying about taking it out on the next person. We all come with something that we need, and you're going to take out on the person that you're with. And I think grace and love really have to be applied in these spaces. Like you said, you have to learn the language, learn a language, learn how to give language to it, to say, this is how I'm feeling. understanding that this is why, because it is something from my past, and we have to develop. We're reacting out of our sensory memory. It's the last thing,
Mhm.
this happened. It touched my senses. This is the last thing I remember. So we have to be patient when we see that present in other people. And if we're really there for the worst, that's the time where we have to find a way to love them through it and give them a new memory that will override what they last experienced.
Yeah.
That's just my thoughts.
I also
I
think
love
that
that.
we shouldn't be allowing people to bring their checked trauma luggage, I call it. Bring your carry on, bring your grief case. Those are the two little things that you can bring, but leave your check luggage gone. Deal with that before you're ready to get into a relationship. I think so many people just are so scared to be alone. And as somebody who's literally just spent 5 months by myself with my own company, day in and day out, and some days for days at a time I didn't see a single person. There's a lot to be learned from spending time to yourself and learning about who you are and what you're prepared to deal with, and what trauma you bring to a relationship that you haven't confronted. And then when you come back, I think you come back a better person, because then you're like, you know what, okay, I was a little bit of an asshole for that situation, or I could have learned from that. Or no, I'm not going to take that behavior anymore. That's not okay with me. And I think once you start having those conversations with yourself and dealing with that unfinished business, you'll stop self sabotaging, because you're
Mm.
like very clear on what you want in a relationship. But I do think that if you're in any kind of significant relationship, it's good to take a break in between. Don't just jump into something else, because you're giving your trauma to somebody else, and that's unfair.
But we do it so often.
And
And
so
I think it
easily.
go yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think because there's some people who they just don't like to be alone. I just said to someone, I said, I am alone. I'm not lonely.
Yes.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's a
Big
big
difference.
difference because
Big.
I like my company. You know,
Mhm.
I like me.
Yeah.
So the need for when I say a relationship, the right relationship, just not the need for any relationship. I
Right.
don't need any just anyone in my space because I understand who I am and not, and when I say that, that took work. That took work to be able to say, I'm clear on who I am. I'm clear what I will and will not, tolerate. So we're not going to even waste each other's time because and that goes from a relationship, a friendship. I
Yeah.
know I keep my circle very small intentionally.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think when we're
Peace.
looking at, yeah, peace.
Hmm.
When we look at unresolved issues, the emotional baggage, the unresolved conflict, and things that weren't fully addressed in our past, whether it's a minor thing or a major thing, whatever it is, if we're not willing to talk to that person about it, then we're being unfair to know if that person can handle what we have, or do they have the capacity for my
Hmm.
stuff? And
Yeah.
vice versa. If they're not sharing, do I have the capacity for your stuff? And you need to know, and I'll say this, if we're dating and someone says, well, um, I want to, and I'm using myself, I want an empty nester. Well, I'm not going to hide my kids
Right.
for the relationship. No, I'm going to tell you, I probably will never be an empty nester based on the fact I have a child with a disability. And I'm going to tell you that up front. So you get to decide if that is something you want to do or not. I'm not going to be like, well, can I get my child to go live with my sister or so I could have this relationship? And there's so many times, and I know people, we've seen it, whether it's on social media, know someone who would do like, I drop my kids off to my mother because I'm in this relationship and he doesn't want children.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we need to understand what's that unfinished business that we would do such a thing,
Right.
or what is it about myself or that I'm willing to sacrifice for this thing over here. and not
Mm.
bringing my full self. I'm just using myself. My daughter is a part of my children, but more so my daughter with she's a part of the package.
Yeah. Yeah. I found that when I was dating, my kids were 6 and 7 when their father passed away. So I had a whole big chunk of my single life with young children, and it was very hard dating with young children. The one relationship that I did get involved with for 6 years was very traumatic for me, and he did not spend a lot of time with my kids, which made the relationship more attractive because we didn't live together. We lived a couple of blocks apart. I had my adult life and then I had my family life. He didn't get become part of it, but then I realized how toxic that was. And then I stayed single during COVID for a really long time. And then you meet that person that's peaceful and very, they give you your peace and you give them their peace, hopefully. And then life is good again. But you have to know what you're coming into. I could not stand looking at men after that 6 year relationship. I was like, no, go away. Like, you're hideous. And now I'm
Lisa
happy
became
again.
allergic. No.
Oh,
Badly.
so
Right.
allergic. So allergic. Yeah. And I didn't like who I was with that person. And then once you start getting out of that and you start learning, okay, this is what my boundaries are. This is what I'm okay with. A lot of it for me was my own unfinished business, my own denying who I was, or not acknowledging what I wanted. Always people pleasing what other people wanted and not what I wanted. So I'm over that now.
I love this. I would love for some of the men to chime in and give us their thoughts and opinions. We dropped the link. I know I see William Michael Barbie. Oh, Bravo with Sheila. We dropped the link. So William Michael Barbie said, "Good evening, ladies." I saw Tyson. Tyson said, "Hello, team. Hello, Tyson." Um, Steph said, "I agree that communication is always key." Yeah, we
Mhm.
could talk about anything. And I think that having your friend, I never forget my mentor's wife said this. She said, if you have to get out of bed to tell your good news to someone else, then you didn't marry your best friend. And that always stuck with me. And they were married, I don't know, I feel like 50, 60 years until, death did them part. But that communication is so key to be able to say, you could see someone every day and still not trust them. And someone could live,
Talking right.
5 states away, and you trust them fully based on the way you communicate.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
Steph said, be upfront and let them decide if they can handle it. Right.
Absolutely.
We don't have to sacrifice for what it is, because I'm a firm believer what it is that is meant for you, it will come to you, and you don't have to make any shortcuts. And sometimes I know it's being impatient because we want it now. We're in the microwave generation. Can I
Mhm.
press it for 30 seconds and it'll get hot?
Yeah.
Opposed to letting it do a slow simmer and a cook.
Yeah.
But I think you also have to be upfront with yourself about what your needs really are, because we'll tend to do this when we're being upfront. We will tell the parts of it that we feel are most appealing in order to swoon or sway someone into, or be persuasive into our situationship, into our relationship space, because again, we're looking to get what we want, and figuring, oh, these little details that we leave out at the end, once they get locked in, it's too late, and now you're loving me real hard, and so the other things start to surface. But you have to be upfront with yourself first. If y'all haven't figured out by now, I am very much introspective in all of these things, because we're always putting it on the other person. But you have to be upfront with you about what you really want, what you're really willing to accept, what your capacity is. You can't pretend that your capacity is more than what it is or less than what it is, because you're
Mhm.
both end up being fulfilled at the end of the day. So that's another piece of unfinished business. I think that we often are working to get back what we felt we missed.
Yeah.
So like Dr. E said, making the point of, parents, single parents who will ship their kids off to somebody else to raise because I gave up these years of my life, in order to raise my kid, and I feel like I didn't get to go out. I feel like I didn't get to. We're always trying to make up for something that was missed. And no, you were where you were supposed to be in that time. You didn't miss anything.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Well, we have Mr. Tyson. Tyson said, greetings all. That part about people wanting to address their issues from the past is fundamental and necessary in order to be able to grow and evolve and build trust. Yeah, we have to really take that look. And
Yeah.
again, I think to the point of the clip, having that person that you can share and feel like it's a safe space. And I
Mhm.
think we all have the need for safety.
Yeah.
Safety is like number one for everyone. We need to feel psychologically safe. We need to feel physically safe. You know, and once that person is safe with you, they will begin to open up in ways that you're like, okay, okay. And a person who you may have been with for 15 years will never get to know you in the same way that that other person now has the opportunity to know you because they've given you a safe space to be you.
Right.
mhm, that's good.
All right. Kathy said, absolutely. To be upfront with yourself first. Yeah, we got to do work with us before we can do work with others.
Yeah.
I would love to hear Dr. Hardy's take. She could chime in the chat, come up.
Ready?
Steph said, I used to have a bad habit of overexerting myself and putting my desires on the back burner. I did too much compromising. And I think you're not alone. I think there are many women and possibly men who have done the same thing. But now to be able to acknowledge that and then understand, how do I show up in relationships? And here's a question I would have: because you know what you've done, do you run from relationships because you don't want to do that again? So if someone came who had the characteristics of someone you like, do you now just say, no, I'm gonna stay away because I may go back into my bad habits, opposed to monitoring yourself and say, wait a minute, do I see myself doing this? Because we can know who we are and then we'll stay isolated.
Right.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Mm-hmm. Also, I think finding out what each other's piece is, like for me, I like my hammock time. I like my quiet time. I need to decompress a little bit after I've had some stress going on. My partner likes just alone time and, you know, getting himself through what he's got to go through, and then he'll come and talk about it. But you really do need to ask your partner what is peace for you, and how can I make sure that that works for you, but you've got to do the same for me. Like, you've got to give me that same grace as well. And sometimes just presence and quiet is what people need, and sometimes they need to talk it through. But I know I'm not always receptive if somebody's just coming at me and verbally vomiting all over me. I'm like, no, I need to be prepared for this. Like, I need to put my poncho on. Like, if we're gonna have a verbal vomit conversation, I need to prepare. And I think they deserve that grace as well. Hey, I'm really stressed right now. Do you mind if I talk it through with you? Ask permission before you just go ahead and do that. Because if they're not ready, the response is just going to be worse anyway. And then you get into an even worse situation. Now you've got two people who are stressed and struggling and not communicating. So I think always ask permission before you just go ahead and dump on somebody. Hey, Elaine, I'm really struggling right now. Do you have 10 minutes for me to have a conversation? Does that work for you? Hey, Lise, no, it doesn't work for me right now, but do you mind if we talk at 5:30?
Right.
Or make time if it's possible to make time. But be honest about it, because if you're not ready to be dumped on, it's gonna take your whole day away from you. I think we
That's
let
true.
we let too many people rent space in our head
Oh,
For
mm.
for free.
for free.
I want to even go on there when we talk about unresolved issues, like how it manifests. So it can manifest in tension and resentment towards
Mhm.
someone, emotional distance, um, uh, reoccurring conflicts because we didn't address the thing before. Now it's a buildup. And I don't know, have you been there? I know when I was married, it would be like, okay, I'm not going to say anything about this. I'm not going to say anything about that. And then it keeps going. And then all of a sudden, it's like you're going to run down a whole laundry list of things that you
Right.
should have said. So I can
Yeah.
acknowledge that was something that I did and that was wrong. Where now I'm like, nope, let me tell you what happened. When I'm going to first ask, do you have some time for us to chat?
Mm. Yeah.
And then when we chat, let me just level set and say, this is what I would like for us to talk about. Let me know, whatever. But in the past, I didn't have that capacity. I didn't even understand it. I thought I was doing the right thing by not saying anything to
Right.
not cause an argument. But I didn't realize then that conflict is healthy
Yeah. I
because
think
we can grow from it.
yeah, I think it's important to meet people where they're at. And so often we try to go to somebody and be like, come on, come on, come on, get out of it, snap out of it. You're good. Like, we've got this. You're fine. And they're not fine. Let them be where they're at. Encourage them not to wallow in it. You don't have to stay there, but let them be where they're at and go through their feels and say, I'm there. I don't know what you're going through. And I can't physically help you right now, but I'm here. And let them work through it because I think that's their growth moment, and don't steal that from them. And don't let people steal that from you. I think we don't look at our growth moments as important as they really are. I went through some shitty stuff in the last 141 days, like crazy stuff that my 51-year-old self never ever thought I would do. My 20-year-old self is still talking to me saying you're crazy. But you go through this stuff and you're like, oh, wow, I really grew. I really grew from that. And I think you come back to the table with those experiences and you're like, okay, now I know how to deal with that. And not letting other people do that for themselves, I think is a form of theft, growth theft.
I
Mm,
like that growth theft.
Hmm.
okay.
So I know like we're coming down almost to our final hours, but we talk about this unfinished business. But I'd like to say let's talk about some ways we can help people walk through this. Um, there are a few ways, and I'm quite sure there are many more, but let's start with one of the things that's said, and Lady Dawn B and I'll go back and forth. It says, according to Psych Central, they had some guidelines for unfinished business, like how you can handle it. It says, acknowledge to your partner that you have something incomplete or unfinished. And this can take in the form of a simple statement. There is something I feel unfinished about and would like to speak with you about. Is this a good time? Which goes back to what you said. Let me ask, is this a good time before I start dumping? And when you don't have time, now I have another issue with you besides the one I wanted to talk to you about.
Right. Hmm.
Um, there's another one. It says, if they say no, seek to create an agreement at a time that's convenient for you both. Be specific and make sure that you both have an adequate amount of time available to do the matter justice.
Hmm.
Assume that the conversation will take longer than it should. If your partner says yes, then you go to the next step. So, step three of it is state your intention in having the conversation. It should be something that will ultimately benefit you both, such as my hope in having us both address my concerns is that I can feel more complete and we can both experience greater trust and understanding with each other. I love that. Like we have
Hmm.
step one, let me make sure we can. Are you available? Step two, like how do we go through this? And sometimes we just want to go from 1 to 5,
Yeah.
or let me say, not 1 through 5, 1 to 5.
Right.
Yeah. Verbal vomit.
And I think Right.
Yeah,
I just need you to get all of this. And I think a lot of times women are guilty of that. We're like,
yeah.
you don't have time and you never have time. And now he's like, want, 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 want. Oh, and now you're not even listening to me. And
Yeah.
he's like, she
And they
crazy.
just shut up. They just pull back and shut themselves in.
all the
And
way down.
we're like yelling at this little cave here that's all like protected, and then we wonder why we're not getting through. And it's like, well, we have to be their safe space as well, and they have to be ours.
Absolutely.
And I don't feel like we always are on the same place of where our safe spaces are, because they don't always align. They don't always, and they're not meant to. We're individual free thinkers. We're not always going to be exactly the same and need nurturing the same way, but it's okay to learn how to nurture your partner. And it's okay for them to learn how to nurture you, but they're not going to be in that mode all the time, because they have to take care of themselves as well. And it's okay to come in and out of those nurture modes of, okay, my grandmother gave me the most amazing analogy, be like an engagement ring. And I was like, well, that's weird. And she's like, sometimes you're the diamond and sometimes you're the setting. But
Mm,
both parts are really important. The setting is nothing without the diamond, and the diamond is nothing without the setting. So sometimes you're the support partner, you're the person holding up the diamond, making sure they're getting all the dazzle dazzle. And sometimes you're the diamond and being held up by your partner. And I love that analogy. Be an engagement ring, or be something, a brooch. It could be whatever you like, but
I like the engagement ring. No,
yeah, it's like
I like
you
that too.
always, one moment you're the diamond, one moment you're the setting. and
the
and I think
setting.
that's just a really nice way to think about it, that both are important, because without each other they're nothing.
I love it. I love that. Lady Dawn B, you want to pick up and number 4?
Sure. Number 4 is provide your partner with some guidance that will help him or her to know how he or she can best support you in this process, such as, it would be helpful to me if you can just let me explain to you what I'm feeling and needing without interrupting me. Ladies, let's think about that. Yeah, we're quick to interrupt. I don't feel that I've been successful at making my feelings and concerns clear, and I'd like to try again. I find myself doing
Mm.
that often in this reformed state. Uh, when I'm done, I would like to hear your response, and I will do my best to understand your take on things. I really appreciate your willingness to have this conversation with me now. I think that is, I feel like I found myself in this whole number 4. I think it's for me. Because I'm learning that. I'm learning that and I'm practicing it, to make sure that I'm, number one, thank you for allowing me, because this is not easy for me, but thank you, for allowing me to share. So that's good. Number 5 is express your feelings, needs, and concerns, and make any requests that you would like your partner to respond to. Try to speak in terms of your experience, as this will diminish the likelihood that your partner will feel blamed or judged. That's really good, and will be less likely to become defensive. If he or she does become defensive or interrupts you, ask your partner if he can let you finish, and that you'll be able to be much more open to what he or she is saying after you feel that you have been heard, that after they have heard you.
Mhm.
I, if I can look, if I can just interrupt, I think that one of the things there and listening to that is to be able to say this, I am feeling instead of you make me feel.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because that would have been the old way of saying you make me feel every time, you make me feel. When this happens, I feel.
Right.
And that may not be your intent, but I'm explaining how I feel when you say this.
Right.
I feel. Now I'm releasing you from the blame, and because again, how I may feel may be 100% inaccurate
Right.
to what the person is like. What are you talking about? Because that may be my unresolved issue or my unfinished business that I'm laying at your feet. Not even I'm blaming you for, when the person is like, no, I wasn't even
Mhm.
thinking that.
Right.
So I,
Right.
I think that is very important.
No,
Um,
that
we
I,
before, I'm sorry, Lady Dawn B, please, 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 people, gently press the like button when you have a moment. And I think you have a moment if you're listening. See, I still said it with a smile.
There you, go. You do it. See how reformation works for us all. Y'all see that? Um, all right. So number 7 says, and that was a great share, Dr. E. Number 7 says, go back and forth until you reach a point at which it feels that the energy between the two of you has lightened and you both feel more relaxed, understood, and hopeful. I think that makes it takes mature people to do that,
Mhm.
to continue to stay in there. But it
Hmm.
doesn't mean quit. Like keep practicing it till you get there. That's all I'm saying. And in completion, unfinished business doesn't have to be absolutely resolved to create a positive outcome. Some incompletions require many conversations before they become reconciled to the satisfaction of both partners. If you hit an impasse, then despite your best efforts, becomes intractable, rather than trying to push through it, take a break in the conversation or agree to resume the dialogue at another time after you both have reset your intentions. Let's work
Yeah.
on getting it right versus being right.
And
I
sometimes you get
love
to the
that.
point where the end is just the end. And it just it is what it is. Like, I was meant to walk all the way from California to New York City. I walked from California to South Carolina. I was getting a little extra thinking I was going to walk all the way up the East Coast as well, and I was like, instead of feeling like I failed, I was like, holy crap, I did that instead. And sometimes the finish is just the finish. And it I really struggled going through Georgia, whether I was going to finish in South Carolina or whether I was going to keep going to New York. And I'm grateful that I chose South Carolina. I'm grateful that I'm home and I don't feel like a failure. But at the same time, I was like, oh, I don't feel like I finished. But then I was like, yeah, I did. I finished. So sometimes the finish line is just where you end up. And that's
And I
okay
think,
too.
That's good.
I'm sorry. I think sometimes, to your point, the finish line can be adjusted
Mm-hmm. Moving, it always moves.
because
Yeah.
we all thought we were all, how many of us, I mean, if you were married or whatever, you thought, I'm going to be
Mhm.
married and my
Yeah.
happily ever after. And it didn't work out that way. Doesn't
Yeah.
mean that you can't start again and you can't get it right the next time or the
Yeah.
next time, whatever that looks like. Um, we have to be willing to say, we can adjust.
Yeah. And that
And
not all
if
failures are failures. Not everything that doesn't work out the way you want it to end is a failure. Maybe it's just a new way, a new direction, a new path that you didn't know you needed to be on, you know.
I love that. And I
Yeah.
think when we're looking at this to kind of like, I guess, put a bow tie on it, when it talks about, it says, regardless of the outcome, thank your partner for joining in your commitment to deepen the quality of trust and understanding in the relationship. Because
Yeah.
when someone's willing to get, and I say down and dirty with you in a good way, to say, we're going to sit up and we're going to talk about this. We're not
Mhm.
going to go. And ladies, you know how we do the whatever.
Mm.
It's okay. It's all
Mhm.
right. And if your partner is like, no, we're gonna talk about that. To
Yeah.
me, that says, or for me, that would mean like, wow, he really is interested in making sure I'm okay
Yeah.
because you want to know what I think. And a
Mhm.
lot of times, I don't know about you, but some in your life, sometimes you like, did you ever hear a word that I said? You ever talk to someone and you realize they're not really listening?
Yeah. Yeah. And celebrate the wins in your relationships as well, because when you celebrate the wins, it makes the times when you do have to have those conversations not so scary and daunting because you've had so many positive things. And I spoke to somebody recently who's very, very close to me, and he was like, hey, I'm really struggling with my wife right now. She's always stressed at work and every conversation is stressful and really like just negative, and it's really, I don't want to take her calls anymore. And I was just like, well, you're in the military and you live, different cities right now. You have to give her that grace, and you need to say to her, hey, listen, I'm here for you when you're going to have a struggle on your day, and need to vent. But I also need to have some positive conversations with you as well. I need to be able to plan forward and look forward to our conversations as well. And they're a young couple, and I think that was something that I forgot as well. Like, celebrate your wins. That's why I said to him, celebrate all the good things, so that when you do have to have those hard conversations, you it's not so scary. It's not so, it doesn't feel like that's the only thing you've got in your relationship is the negative stuff.
I love that. I love that. I love this conversation tonight as we're talking about this unfinished business. I
Mhm.
think it's something for me, it's thought provoking to be able to say, what is it that I need to complete, or what is it that I would bring into to the next person, and being able to have that conversation. Um, I, yeah, and even when we were doing this topic, I was like, wow, this is a little heavy,
Mhm.
because I have to confront me. I have to confront what I'm bringing to the table, that is uncomfortable for me. It may not be uncomfortable for your partner or your potential partner, but
Yeah.
it's hard for you because it has been with you. Steph said, great topic. I know William Michael Barbie, I know earlier he said he agreed with something Lisa had said. I can't see it. Hold on. Thank you. He said he agreed. We let too many people rent space in our heads, and I think that's true. Um, he also said Dr. E agreed. Conflict can be healthy. Um, and let's go to Sharon. Sharon said, you ladies picked and did a great topic tonight. I enjoyed." That's as she said, "I'm going to bed. Sweet dreams, and as always, stay safe and blessed." We absolutely love. And before we wrap up, I just want to be able, if there's any contact information, Lady Dawn B, you could talk about your show on Thursday, and Lisa, if there's anything, and then let's just give our final words and before we say goodnight.
Okay. Well, our guests to our guests. Oh no, all right. They have the last word. I'm all over the place today. Oh, hold up.
Okay, good. Good. I'm
Hi.
gonna let you read this one.
Y'all know what it is. Pastor Rosa says, well, she meant good, not hood. Good evening, beautiful
From the
ladies.
Bronx. She said, "Good evening."
Good evening. Just wanted y'all to know I was the first one waiting tonight.
Well,
Okay. But mommy, if you're the last one to comment, we don't know that. But thank you. Thank you for letting us know. She's right on time. So anyhow, yes. So you can find me here on Mondays beyond the mic at 7 p.m. with Dr. E. You can also find me on my favorite. Not that Mondays have really become my favorite, but I'm gonna leave that out. Um, every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Bravo with Sheila Network. I'm excited for the month of June. It's dedicated to our men. All of our conversations are going to be governed, guided, and wrapped around male topics. We have a bunch of great men coming on. Um, what we're doing is in the month of June, we have some amazing African American authors who are going to be on with us every week and talking about some real good stuff. The first is going to be Melvin Phillips, my friend. He has this book out called I'm Divorced Now What? So we're looking forward to him coming on and sharing. That's this Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here. And then we're going to talk about the process of relationships and the starting over and what that's like for men, because men don't really get to talk about what divorce feels like and what it goes through, how they process. It's not always the same as us. So you can find me right here. Other than that, you can find me on TikTok as Lady Dawn B, number 19. I'm also on Facebook and IG.
All right, Lisa.
Awesome. You can find me at keepmepostedtoday.com. I would definitely say unfinished business is make sure you take care of yourself first, and what you bring to the table, because other people might not be ready for you as you're standing. So just take care of yourself and set your boundaries of what you're wanting to have, and be realistic. If that person's out there for you, and God's got them waiting for you. You've just got to be open to being yourself first. So um, I don't know. Just don't bring your baggage. Don't bring your check luggage. No check luggage.
Well, Lisa said no check luggage. Um,
Yes.
I would love to say again, thank you to all of our viewers, our new viewers, our the ones that have been riding with us since day one. We truly appreciate you. And next week, we're going to be talking about love languages. And we're bringing on Pastor Sheila. So we will talk about love languages next week. And we hope that you can join us. And as always, have a wonderful evening. And we say, God bless you from Mondays Beyond the Mic. Have a good evening.
Take
Good
care,
night.
All
everyone.
I do is try to construe this life of mine.